you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell to be notified of future videos. Thank you.
Good day to all the viewers. I am Sharon Jephta, a retired Lieutenant General in the South African Police Service. I was in the police service for 38 years and 3 months. I joined the police service on 20th of July 1981, and I retired at the age of 58 in October 2019. I'm married to one husband, Mohammed Jephta. He was also a police officer. He retired at the age of 60 in July 2020. Together, we have 73 years of policing experience. So we have 2 children called Benjamin, a son called Benjamin, and a daughter called Amy. And I would like to take you on a journey through my career, which was not just a job, but it was a calling. And I'm sure many of you police officers, ex-police officers listening to me today would agree with me that your job is not just a job. Your job is a calling. I hope that those who listen to my story will be encouraged through it, whether you are in the police or not. In this episode, I would like to speak about what motivated me to join the police service, my recruitment process, how I use the best character trait to be successful in my career. I've been thinking many times throughout my career that I would love to tell my career story one day. And the reason why I want to do so is really to encourage women in the service, as well as those who would like to make policing their career of choice. This thought was provoked every time I was challenged, be it an operational challenge, be it a challenge with my commander, or a challenge with a policy. You will hear in later episodes what challenges I have experienced operationally as a woman within the police, what challenge I have experienced with commanders who were normally male commanders within the police and how I have dealt with it, and also what policy challenges I had within the police. So I want to assure all listeners today that all police officers can serve with integrity, commitment, and excellence throughout their career. So let's talk about what motivated me to join the South African Police Service and how it came about that I joined the organization. I finished matric in 1979 and was accepted at the University of the Western Cape, where I pursued my studies in 1980 to become a social worker. I wanted to become a social worker because I've witnessed the many social ills within the community on the Cape Flats, where I was born and raised. At the time, the song of James Brown that came out in the 60s, It's a Man's World. I know many of you know that, and I can see you smiling about that one. So this song was so prevalent in my community, as women were just made to stay in their lane and they were regarded as inferior to men. So in my community, women were considered to be inferior to men and to be second-class citizens. And I'm sure it's just not in my community, but in most of the communities, it was like that. They were objects for sensual gratification alone. They were seen as weak, incapable of real strength. They were seen as lacking in intelligence and therefore having nothing to contribute to society. They were seen to be the personal servants whose only purpose is to meet the needs of their masters. They were seen to be domestic slaves, to be used as desired. They were just seen as objects to be passed around until finished with and then discarded. They were seen as being subhuman. They were seen being deserving of abuse. And this view of women really made me sick as a young woman already. I really could not stand it. Our home was like an advice office, as those in the neighborhood who struggled with services, whether it was government services or any other services, they always came to my mother for assistance. She would then accompany whoever knocks on the door for help to the right office, and she would just demand service. She would not leave a place until the person get the service that the person is supposed to get. Whether it was home affairs, whether it was social services, whether it was at the council, she just knew all the services of all departments, whether it's local government, whether it's national government. She knew the services and she just knew how to get attention when she get to those places. I've seen the many hours she has spent to assist people, sacrificing her own family at times. I was further inspired by her satisfaction of serving others. She would, at the end of the day, be at home and just say how good she feels because she could help Mrs. So-and-so today to get a pension, or she could help Mrs. So-and-so to organize a wedding, even a wedding, or she could assist someone to register a birth. That's the kind, and that satisfaction was just there for her. But she really inspired me. But sadly, I should actually say divinely, I had to quit my studies in the third semester of the first year because my parents just could not afford to keep me at university. And at the time that I was at university, there were no bursaries available for us. Now I'm home, I was looking for work, but while I'm at home, I just saw more and more the prejudice against women persisting in our community. And in our home, where women have not been allowed to develop their potential, but were used as breeding machines to multiply the nation. Even in our own home. We were 5 children, but if you look at our ages, we're all 1 year apart. That means that my mother fell pregnant as soon as one of us were 3 months old. So that is how woman was just used at that time. And I just could not take it because I knew that woman has got potential and I knew that woman can contribute to the upliftment of their families, and the enrichment of their communities and their churches. So throughout my childhood, I witnessed the emotional and financial abuse of my mother by my father. And it even got worse at the time that I was unemployed. So I don't know if it really got worse, but it's just because I was at home and I could see more that it felt at that time that it just got worse. I also saw many women within our neighborhood who were experiencing the same and had the longing just to put an end to it. I was always thinking by myself, what is it that I can do to put an end to this type of view that the community or society have of women? And how can I put a stop to the abuse? This has really driven me to get up one morning in September in 1980 to go to my local police station. And you must know, I have never been to a police station before. I've never spoken to a police officer before. And I've just decided, yeah, I'm going because I want to put a stop to what's happening within my community and within our own home. So Paro Police Station was my police station serving us at that time. I went to the station to seek employment, and like I said, mainly to put a stop to the abuse and what's ever happening within my community. So when I got at the station, I was privileged to actually meet the station commander in one of the passages as I went into the police station. And he inquired as to what I need. And I said to him that I'm here to seek employment. I want to become a police officer. He took me to his office and he told me at that time that there were no recruitment for colored police women at the time. But what he knew is that it is in the pipeline, and very soon they will start recruiting colored police women. He then said to me that he's going to take my details, and as soon as he receives any further information on it, he will let me know. I then left the police station very disappointed, thinking at that time that now I'm going back, still not equipped to do anything within my community. However, I've put my disappointment aside because life must go on. I was unemployed. I started to go to the factories that was close to my home and knock on the doors to seek employment. Thankfully, I got a job as an administrative clerk at a factory very close to our home. So I actually then, I didn't forget, but it just slipped my mind that I've really applied for the jobs because I've started this new job and it really caught my attention. In fact, I started to like what I was doing, but I knew in my heart it is not what I want to do. But at that time, I liked it. I still knew that every time when I go back into my community, that things were the same and things have to change, and specifically for the women within my community. At the beginning of June in 1981, at about 8 o'clock the evening, I answered the knock at our front door. And when I opened the door, I just said, I freeze. You must remember it was winter at that time. And it was in the middle of winter. And I did not freeze because it was cold. I was just freezing because of this huge white police officer who fitted the frame of our front door. He was just standing there. And without even greeting me, he just blared at me that he's looking for S.J. Geldenhuys. And S.J. Geldenhuys was my maiden surname. And I was like, S.J. Geldenhuys? I said, no, you've got it wrong. My father's name is N.J. Geldenhuys, so you must be looking for my father. I called my father to the door, and when my father came to the door, the police officer said, no, it must be a woman that came to the station to ask to be a police officer. So I said, well, S.J. Geldenhuys, me, it's I that was there. And he looked at me and he just said that you are invited for an interview to become a police officer. You must report to the Bishop Blavis Training College at 8 o'clock the next morning. Well, needless to say, and you can imagine, I was just shivering. I just said, thank you very much. I'll be there and I'll make sure that I'll be in time. Needless to say, I've never slept that night. I was tossing and turning and tossing and turning. And you don't dream when you're going to deep sleep. So I've never even been in deep sleep that night. I'm sure I have been just in light sleep because I was just dreaming the whole night. I was dreaming, I was seeing myself in uniform, and the uniform at the time that I saw myself in was nowhere close to the uniform that police women were wearing at the time. In fact, I did not know what they were wearing at the time because I have never seen a police woman before. Although white police officers, female police officers, were in the police since 1972. This is almost 10 years later, and I've never seen one of them on the streets. I've never seen them one of them patrol, so I don't even know what kind of uniform they had. I can't remember even what kind of uniform, but I knew I had a uniform on when I was dreaming that night. I just dreamed how I was solving everyone's problems. I knocked on their doors. I asked whether they are okay. I asked whether they are safe. How I've warned the men that I'm a cop now and that they should stop the abuse. And that is just all that I dreamt that night. So the next morning, I stepped out definitely in my best outfit. And I can tell you, it was a lilac velvet suit that I had with a cream shirt. So that was my best suit. And I stepped out in it. And I took the 6 o'clock bus to Bishop Lavis. And you can know with who accompanying me, my mother, as she did with other women within the community. Be going with them, making sure that they get service. Here, my mother goes with me in the morning because she wants to make sure that I get to the right place, that I be treated well, that I get the service that I'm supposed to get. Well, needless to say, when we got to the gate of the college, she was stopped. I was the only one allowed in because the security was very, very tight at the gate. She had to turn around. And thankfully, without making a scene, without asking questions, she just turned around. She wished me luck and just turned around. So I had so many emotions when I walked in there, just to think that I don't know what's going to happen in there. I don't know what people is going to ask me. I did not prepare anything. All I knew is that I had this burning desire in my heart to be a police officer, just to help the community, to be of service to the community. And with that, I just walked in there. So when I came in, someone escorted me to the gymnasium. So when I came to the gymnasium, there was already 10 women sitting, and gradually it filled up until we were about 150 women. And everyone looked more anxious than the other one because we did not know one another. Nobody knew one another. We were too afraid to look to our left or right, or just to look to one another, or just to give one another a smile, or to greet one another. I think we were just all too anxious and too afraid. So we were just sitting there very quietly. In fact, you could have heard a pin drop in that gymnasium. So just after 8 o'clock, 4 female police officers in uniform entered the gymnasium. They were Brigadier de Botha, Major Magda Stander, at the time Magda Geldenhuys, and Lieutenant Colonel Woman. They entered the gymnasium, and we were requested by someone to stand when they arrived, as we were briefed beforehand. I couldn't keep my eyes off Major Magda Geldenhuys. as she looked so perfect in her uniform. It looked as that uniform was designed for her. She just, you could pull her through a ring. Her makeup was beautiful. Her face was shining. I was just dreaming with my eyes open as to how I would look in that uniform. Not because we had the first surnames. I did not even know that we had the same surnames at that time. But really because she portrayed such a good image. She portrayed an image that I really just loved. She was so self-confident. She was a real police officer. It was, in fact, the first time that I saw police officers, like I've mentioned before. To be honest, they took turns to talk in front, but to be honest, I did not hear a word. They were briefing us. I don't know what they were briefing us about, but I just did not hear a word. I know all of them spoke because I was just captured by what I saw in front of me. These beautiful women, and in specific, Magda Stander at the time, Major Magda Stander at the time. I was later interviewed that day at an office adjacent to the gymnasium by these women. I just cannot remember all the questions and the answers. But what I know at the end of the day, I was selected to come back the same time the next morning. So the next morning, I went home and, as usual, my mother was all ears. She just wanted to know from start to the beginning what was happening. I cannot recall whether I was able at that time to tell her what happened there. But all I knew that I had a recall and I had to be back there 8 o'clock the next morning. Well, that night, I looked in my cupboard again and I found my cream suit, which was a suit that my mother bought a few years earlier for Christmas. And I prepared that suit for the next morning's interview. I did not know what the next morning's interview would be. But once more, same time, my mother accompanied me again on the bus at 6 o'clock, which we took. She politely turned around at the gate, not saying a word to the security, wishing me luck, and off she went. So when I got to the gymnasium, I noticed, because I did not know how many got callbacks. I was not aware what the process was at the time. But half of the women were there. So half of the women got a call back for the next process of our interview. So that day we did various psychometric tests. And it was quite long. It was very in-depth. It was, as you know, psychometric test is always not a nice thing to do because you don't really know what people are looking for in you. You don't really know what the right answers are. I was just honest in giving answers. I just said to myself, this is my integrity and I'm going to be honest. And with the psychometric test, I've been super honest. I did not even know at that time there are various test batteries within this to select you from that. So after the psychometric test, in fact, we were treated so well. They gave us tea breaks and they gave us lunch breaks. In fact, they even fed us very well. At the mess of the college, they cooked very nice food for us. They gave us tea and coffee and refreshments, and they made sure that we are comfortable. Although we were all very nervous, these women really made sure that we are comfortable. So the next so they said at the end of the day they will select 30 people who will then have a call back for the third day. And we were all just sitting on the edge of our chair at the end of the day when we were finished. And then they started to call out our names. They then called out about 30 of us, of which I was selected as part of the 30. And then we were requested to come back again the next morning, that's the third day, for further interviews and tests or whatever we're going to do. Same story going home. I had to explain to my mother what we did for the day, how the psychometric test went, the type of questions they've asked, how I feel that I've done very well. I was quite confident, I must say, I was quite confident that I would make the top 18. So again, same story. Now I had to look for another outfit, and I did not have an outfit for the third day. Thankfully, because my sister and I, we were a year apart, I could claim her check suit of the previous year. That is how it worked in our house. The eldest will get new clothes and it's always passed on to you. So that one was passed on to me. And then I was kitted out and dressed up in my check suit. Again, same time, 6 o'clock bus, 2 Bishop Lavers with my mother accompanied me. And when we got there at 8 o'clock, we were requested to get in the bus as we are going to see the district surgeon. So all of us went. We did not even know we were going to a doctor because they didn't tell us. They just say, you'll be back the next day. They did not really brief us what's going to happen the next day. So all of us went to the district surgeon and got through that. I think we were not the whole day there. The third day was about by lunchtime we were all finished. And then after the doctor, we went back to the college where we were just further briefed on how training will work and if we should get a call up, what we should bring with, how long the training is, what it entails and that. So we had a whole briefing then on training. And that briefing was very scary because you also don't know really what to expect. We were taught that men is going to train us. We were told men is going to train us, that they have never trained women before, and we would be the pioneers and all those kind of things. So we were told that we will get a call back, and when we get a call back, it's the final one, and that is that we have to then report to the college for basic training. So 2 weeks later, some of our neighbors informed me that there were police officers in plain clothes that inquired about my character and good standing in the community. Not knowing at the time, it was crime intelligence doing some background check on me. Remember, this was in the time of the uprising, which really necessitated proper background checking, although background checking was the norm for recruitment of police officers at that time. I'm sure they had to make very sure that of our backgrounds that we are not linked to the uprising that happened at that time. So on July 13th in 1981, I received a telephone call from the recruitment officer who informed me that my application was successful and that I had to report to Bishop Lavis College at 1400 hours on the 19th of July 1981 for basic training. My family was so excited, and my mum arranged a send-off party that Sunday at her home, and most of my extended family attended it. They even accompanied me to the college that afternoon, but was so shocked when they heard the duty sergeant asking why everyone accompanied me. And without allowing them even to say goodbye to me, he instructed me to take my luggage and make a trip around the parade ground. I was not even sure what a parade ground was. He just showed me with his finger, that side, go there. I saw this gravel field and he told me, you will go right around there. Too shocked and afraid, I made my way on my high heels and luggage around the parade ground. I don't know how long it took. I did not even worry about my feet. I just ran around it. I'm sure when I reported back, I saw a grin on his face when he directed me to the dormitory, but not before. He explained to me how I should respond if the siren goes. My family made an about turn, as in a platoon, without saying goodbye. We are still laughing about that incident up till today. They can recall it, every one of them, and we just laugh our stomachs out when we think and speak about it. You can imagine our response when entering, my response and others' response when entering the dormitory, because we have made it as the successful candidates arrive one by one. When the first siren went at 6 p.m. for dinner, we all rushed out to report to the duty room as directed earlier by the duty sergeant. Many of us still had high heels on and ended up lining with our shoes in our hands. Because we did not know we should put on flat shoes and what we were really going to do. So we were there, and we were then directed to the mess, where we actually had a very nice supper for the evening. So on the 20th of July, we were attestated by 20th of July 1981. We were attestated into the police service by Brigadier Dovin Botha. And we received our training uniform and equipment on that same day. I remember the first week was introduction, and it became very clear that the male instructors, they did not know how to handle us as females. It became clear from the beginning. So we had a Sergeant Liebenberg, which was a female. She was transferred to Bishop Lavis College to be our platoon sergeant on a duty arrangement. And we were actually very thankful that there was actually a woman that we can speak to. She was the only woman on the staff at that time. All the others were male instructors. I have many things to say about basic training, but will only conclude that it was like a sweet that you would not like to eat again. It was very nice, but that sweet you don't want to eat again. So we shed many tears. We laughed our bellies out and even wanted to give up at times. We had a phrase, Ano, Uithou, and Peko. That kept us going all the time. I have to tell you that many of the girls took chances in physical training classes by telling the instructor that they have their period. They were then allowed to stand out as the men believed that we could not do physical training when menstruating. I worked so hard during basic training and lost 16 kilograms, which I am still maintaining up till today. So Brigadier Dewin Botha and Major Geldenhuys visit us every second month during basic training to make sure that we are doing well and that we are well cared for. They really cared about our well-being and made time to have a specific session with us and make sure that we are happy. I remember 2 weeks before passing out, we did crowd management course, which I think was the most challenging part of our basic training. We were made to run into a hole where we were pelted with tear gas, as if, and that happened at the shooting range, as if that was not enough. We were made to run back to the college, and that was about 15 kilometers with R5 rifles. I remember that we were so tired that we just lie under the showers and let the water run down our bodies. Another challenging day was where we were punished and made, I have to tell this. So when we were in this hole and we were pelted with tear gas, a few of us, including me, managed to get out of that hole and climb in a tree. It was the first time that I climbed a tree in many, many years. I did it as a child. And that day, my child just got back into me and I was able to escape some of the tear gas. Well, I remember that, we were tired. We were almost crying that day, but we just started to scream our phrase, Ano eto beko, Ano eto beko, Ano eto beko. And that kept us going. So another challenging day was where we were punished and made to put both our winter coat and our raincoats over our training gear and then had to drill for hours. I don't know whether the instructor was just spiteful. It was in the last days of our training, so we were very fit. And I think at that time we were looking forward to passing out parades, so we didn't mind what they were doing with us. We were very fit and we were able just to withstand that. After that session, we could dry out the water from our coats even. I think everyone, they was just strong and no one gave up. No one complained and they were not even getting tired. At the time, we were just thinking about passing out parade and going home. The basic training at the time was about breaking you down and then building you up to a standard that was set. It actually taught me so many things. But most of all, it taught me tenacity, perseverance, and courage. So now, I think that was my journey. That was the process of recruitment and basic training. I'm sure that many breathtaking stories of men and women who have heeded to the national call of duty, patriots of this country who sacrificed their families and their lives and who went beyond the call of duty can be told. As we look back to all who served, I would like to honor and salute the excellence of colleagues, comrades and compatriots who continue to demonstrate excellent policing skills in serving the people of South Africa. Members who work tirelessly and diligently to create a professional policing service through serving with integrity, commitment, and excellence. It is touching to see and ever rejuvenating passion and commitment by our members towards their duties, regardless of the nature of duty. The center of such passion and commitments needs members to have integrity. Earl Nightingale said, and I want to quote, "Integrity is the seed of achievement. It is the principle that never fails." Close quote. I've become concerned as a retired Lieutenant General that integrity has evaded the South African Police Service as a practice. Integrity is just no more a practice. It is so scarce in the police. This has been seen in the level of corruption in the South African Police Service in such a way that the South African Police Service has been found to be the most corrupt state institution as per the latest survey of Corruption Watch. Sad to say that integrity is no more a norm in the South African Police Service. I have learned to have integrity very early in life, as it was just part of my natural makeup. When I was a child, I despised children who cribbed during exam. And I would always alert my teacher if someone was busy copying notes during exams. The other thing I really hated when I was at school was when children was bunking classes. Needless to say, that I would report them to the teacher, who would then get them back into the class. I really, at that time, as a child already, I did not care whether my mates liked it or not, and I endured the consequences of my actions. Children who I reported for being untruthful were afraid to do anything wrong in my presence and ignored me for a while, but will always come back and be friends with me. When I joined the South African Police Service, I made a conscious decision that integrity will be crucial for my personal success and that I will do nothing that compromises it. From the beginning, I took responsibility to keep my integrity in place and addressed any experience that threatened my integrity in the workplace immediately. Integrity is the foundation upon which qualities such as respect, dignity, and trust is built. I have irritated and frustrated many of my colleagues throughout my career, whether it were my juniors or my seniors, because I had made sure that I maintained integrity in all my working environments by taking care of the little things. This has led many colleagues to misunderstand me, while I made it clear that you should not do anything that you would not feel comfortable reading about in the newspaper the next day. It was important for me that I should be judged for who I am and not for the title I carried or the position I held. Not because I was a brigadier, not because I was a general, not because I was a sergeant, but because for who I am and for what I stand for. At times, I was criticized unfairly, but it just assisted me to keep going and not to strike back. The first time my integrity was challenged was just after I'd been transferred to a station as a constable. I was posted on the patrol van with a sergeant to attend to complaints. We received complaints of assault, and when we arrived at the address, my partner told me to sit in the van and to listen to the radio and to answer when we are called. He went in to take the statement. In fact, I could see him from where I was sitting because he was sitting under the veranda with a woman who he took the statement. Then a lady came from the same premises and she came to the van and started speaking to me. She told me that she doesn't know me and wanted to know whether I'm new in the area. I said, yes, I'm new in the area, and I introduced myself. And as we were talking, she suddenly started to fiddle in my hand. When I looked in my hand and dropped something in my hand. So when I looked in my hand, there was a roll of notes in my hand. I was so shocked. I threw the money back at her and I said, no, I don't want money. She said, no, I know that you are not paid well and you are working very hard. I always look after police officers and you can have the money. I said to her, no, I'm getting paid at the end of the month. I'm not taking your money. And I just told her to go because I'm not interested in what she's busy doing now. She then went off. When my partner was finished, when we were driving, I told him what happened. And he said, oh, she always look after us. You should have taken the money. I made it very clear to him that I am not here to take money. I'm here to do a job. And that I will never take money, and that he will never take money. If I see him taking any money, I will report him immediately. And that is what I told him. I never know whether he took money that day while he was sitting under the veranda also. I have not seen him. I've worked with him a lot after that. I have never seen him taking money. I don't know if he took any money, but I made it clear I would have reported him if I knew about him. Up till today, I've seen him many times. I've never asked him whether he has taken money. But I know in my heart, because that day he said she always gave, that he must have taken some money. But later on, I think I was there a few months later, we raided the same house. I never knew at the time that that was the Shabin. Only finding out that day that she was actually the biggest Shabin owner in the station area. So I arrested her for illegal dealing illegally in liquor. And I was the one who put in the A1 statement. So while we were busy at the station, suddenly there were a lot of police officers who were off duty that were just sneaking around there, looking at what's happening. I'm sure they were looking for an opportunity to assist her to be free. But I'm sure that my partner has already spoken to them and told them where I stand with these kind of things. So when I finished my A1 statement, I made sure that the statement is complete. And whenever I took a statement when I was a constable, and even up till today, I would take a statement with conviction in mind. I believe that my A1 statement is the statement that could get a conviction. So when I was finished with my statement and the docket, I made sure that the branch commander get the docket so that the docket could not vanish at all. That woman was found guilty for the very first time. For the very first time, she has been dealing in liquor for very, very long. And the community actually sang the praises for the police for that. I knew at the time. In fact, no member confronted me to do anything that would jeopardize the case that day. I knew at the time that integrity was my best friend and that I should not do anything that would compromise the integrity, as I would damage myself and even my career. I have many encounters, but I think I'm just going to stick to two of those encounters. My first encounter as a senior manager was at the rank of a brigadier. And it was at a management meeting where I was heavily criticized for not being on track with recruitment targets. At the time, I was the acting provincial commissioner for human resource management. So before the meeting, I was told by my supervisor to condone some categories in the psychometric testing of the applicants in order for us to make the recruitment targets. I refused as I knew it was not right. However, in the meeting, I was publicly humiliated by my commander, who accused me in front of everyone that I was like an apartheid cop and that my resistance is because I do not want the current management to be successful. I did not strike back, as I could see that the provincial commissioner at the time did not stood up to protect me. During the break time, I confronted my provincial commissioner for not protecting me. His answer to me was that he could see that I was upset and that he would address my commander in private. Needless to say, I was not satisfied with his response. I have to mention, this happened in the first phase of the project. It happened in the first phase of the project. So there were still many things that we had to do to get to the target. And yeah, to get to the target. And I just thought, I'm just going to go on as normal. I will stick to all the national instructions that there, and no one is going to get me to do the wrong thing here, whether it is my commander or not. So I must say that at the end we exceeded the target with integrity at the end of the project. And after that, my commander came to me, she called me in and requested me to take the position up permanently. I simply refused to take up the position. I told her that I want to go back to operations where I actually belonged. I have been in operations all the years. It's the first time that I have been in the support part, and we just did not click because of the difference we have there. So she did not take my viewpoint kindly, and because of a lack of integrity, our professional relationship really became shaky. It was not long when she and my provincial commissioner also had a fallout, and that resulted her in resigning from the police. To those who are still in the police, today, please remember that integrity is the glue that holds people together. Do you know what is your level of integrity? Is it, if you don't know, let me help you to ask you some questions to measure your integrity. You can answer for yourself. Don't be too quick. Take your time to answer. How well do you treat other people when you can gain nothing? Are you transparent with others? Do you role play based on the person that you are with? Or are you the true person? Are you the same person when you're in the spotlight as when you are alone? Do you quickly admit wrongdoing without being pressed to do so? Do you put other people ahead of your personal agenda? Do you have an unchanging standard for moral decisions? Or do circumstances determine your choices? When you have something to say about people, do you talk to them about it, or do you talk about them? Are you accountable? Are you accountable to at least one other person for what you think, say, or do? The road of integrity, I know, is not easy, but for the success of your career, it is the only one that will get you where you ultimately want to go. The Code of Ethics of the South African Police Service views integrity as the character trait because it is the first character trait being referred to in the Code of Ethics. I would like to quote from the Code of Ethics. And now I quote, "We as employees of the South African Police Service continually strive to uphold the mission, values, ethical principles, and ethical standards of the South African Police Service. We will behave in a manner that is consistent with these values. We will always tell the truth, perform our duties with noble motives, and set an example in the communities we serve." That is the Code of Ethics. Integrity is the practice of being honest and showing a consistent and uncompromising adherence to strong moral and ethical principles and values. A person who has integrity lives his or her values in relationship with co-workers, customers, and stakeholders. Honesty and trust is central to integrity. It is important that all SAP members have integrity in order to regain the trust of those they serve and the current perception of corruption. There is currently a total breakdown in trust by police members as well as trust by the public. Do you know the level of trust that the community have in you? You know that integrity has benefits for you. First of all, it keeps you close to God. It guides your life. It brings peace in your life. And it earns us trust and influence. You need to have integrity in your workplace. How do you maintain integrity in the workplace? You can do it by leading by example. Never give the impression that you don't care that improper actions are taking place. Speak out when these things happen in front of you. Commit to being involved in the process. Anticipate ethical conflicts. Communicate with honesty. Communicate with civility. And be consistent. You need to be truthful, responsible, accountable, loyal. You need to do impression management. You need to have a vision. And you need to be assertive if you want to have integrity. You can show integrity by keeping your word, keeping your commitments. Pay attention to your environments. Stay focused. Surround yourself with honest people. Take responsibility and respect your employers. I was successful in my career because I committed myself to honesty, reliability, and confidentiality. I decided ahead of time that I don't have a price. I'm not going to take money, doing any favors for someone or asking someone to do any favor for me. In fact, I did not even sleep my way to the top. To all serving policewomen and ex-policewomen out there, remember, we will be celebrating the 50th reunion of the South African policewomen in March 2022. There are already build-up events going on through the policewomen's network in each province. Please join in and be part of those events in preparation for the celebration. Please stay connected to our Facebook page for updates. In closing, remember we are still in a pandemic. COVID-19 has been very tough on everyone. We have all lost dear family members, friends, and colleagues. You have been blessed in many ways, but most of all, have been blessed with good health and to be alive. Be healthy, wealthy, blessed, and stay safe.